this is Diane. Hello and welcome to a belated Biters. Oh, and there's a train in the background.
Chugging right along. Oh, and I was going to say it was too hot to say anything clever, but the train saved me. This is Marnell, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 5, The End of Everything.
And I would just like to clarify before we start that Biters is not endorsed by, nor do we endorse any of the CGRP receptor antagonists that are currently marketed for migraine. But my sister should be taking one.
I should be, I know.
That's part of the reason we're late, but that's not everything. I mean, it just has been kind of a hectic week with the holiday, so...
No, and then we're like 20 minutes late tonight because of technical difficulties, because it's hotter than the surface of the sun in Alaska.
Right. I think that's why Skype was giving us difficulties, actually.
I seriously think that's exactly what it is. Like, Alaska is just melting down.
It is. Like the core of Chernobyl reactor number 4.
Or the reactor in Fear the Walking Dead.
Which is about to come up in the next episode from the reading that I was doing earlier today.
Right.
So it looks like Sunday we'll see Grace and have some reactor issues again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this was a really fortuitous title for the Walking Dead universe as a whole.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. But we're going to talk about that in Whisperer's Corner.
Yeah. So,
yes, it was a big week in the Walking Dead world.
Very big.
So I have some numbers, but first we should talk about our ratings.
So after saying that, like, I never give anything under a 4, and I rated against it, so... I did not enjoy this episode.
I actually liked this one better. That is so funny.
And I really feel that I should have liked this one better because I love the character of Al, and I like our new character. I would hope that she would stick around, or that she would become a regular, or we're going to see her in the movies or something.
We're going to see her again. We might see her in one of the Rick movies, but I got the feeling this was a one and done for the series.
I think she's got 2 credits, so we might see her one more time, and that'll be it.
Does, but she was actually credited for this one and for Skidmark.
Oh, okay.
The little appearance that she made at the very end.
Right. So yeah, I rated it a 3.95 rock slides. I had to keep it close to 4, but I really this episode was very meh to me.
I gave it a 4.29 lovely, luscious lesbian lip locks out of 5.
Oh my goodness, we will so get into that. Only because of Forbes.
Oh, so you're finally reading the Forbes articles as well.
Oh, I read one of the first ones when he criticized nurses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So our numbers for the week weren't terrible. We were 24 out of 25 for the week in the 18 to 49 group. Beat out by FIFA's Women's World Cup and by the Democratic debates, which I'm horrified that we're already seeing presidential debates for next year.
Right?
Ugh.
Like, you guys, if you're a listener to the show, you guys know our political leanings, and even I'm like, no, not watching.
It's such a clown car.
Yeah. And a few of them need to pile out. Like, 80% of them.
Put on your big red shoes and get out the car. Let's see. So it made the top 25 in the 18 to 49 group, did not make the top 25 in the overall. There were a little over 500,000 views in the 18 to 49 group on the same day, and there were 1.7 overall same day. So it was a little bit higher than the last couple of episodes have been.
Well, and I have to say that when I looked it up earlier today on IMDb, it had a 7.3 rating.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's currently holding steady at a 7.6, so it's gone up 0.3 in under a day.
I got the sense that this episode was a little better received than the last couple have been.
I do too, and that's why I'm like, why did I not like this so much?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I
Well, got anything about the title other than where the title obviously came from?
Right. No, I don't have anything for the title, and I don't think it was planned for this week, that it just so happened to fall on this week of all weeks.
Yes, you're right, though. It is a fortuitous title given the week, given the events of the week.
Right?
Okay, so the quote is, I got to see the prettiest thing I've seen since the end of everything. And that was Isabel to Al.
Which is like the greatest compliment,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you had me at hello.
Yeah, biters, use that line on your significant others.
Yeah.
So,
Especially since it really is the end of everything in Alaska, because we're all going to die from this heat
oh
wave.
my God. And
It's
let's
86. It's
I was going to
86
say,
degrees
let's put it into perspective. We're talking high 80s, which is meltdown for us.
here. Right.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
my husband is convinced he wants to move south. I am having second thoughts considering how miserable I am in this heat right now.
Okay, but here's the thing. It's like we make fun of the lower 48 for not being able to go to work when it snows like an inch. We are not equipped to deal with the heat. They are not equipped to deal with the snow. So that's kind of where I'm at, is like, I'm the only place I'm comfortable right now is in my car, and it's because it's the only place that has AC.
AC. I'm telling you, the best part of my day, aside from the AC in the truck when we had to go into town, was the Frappuccino that I had. Because it was cold.
Yeah, this actually makes me want to go shopping at big box stores and Fred Meyer's, even though I hate doing that.
Because
but
they're cold.
They're the only place that has AC. I work on the 5th floor of a concrete building that has no AC. Yeah.
And many of our listeners are saying, keep whining, girls. It's a lot hotter where we are.
And I'm sure it is, and I'm sure you are well equipped to deal with it. So there was a Facebook post this is totally digressing. There's a Facebook post. One of the restaurants in town is looking for an AC unit for their kitchen because they have fans going and it's still over 100 degrees in the kitchen. And somebody was like, Costco's getting in 8 AC units this morning. Because we all know what's coming in on the barge. Trust me, it's a small town. We all know each other's business.
Oh, that's funny.
So there was already a line for them before Costco opened.
I can believe that.
That is how desperate for AC we are.
Yeah.
So if you are looking to move to Alaska, like 4 months out of the year, you could make a killing installing AC units.
Right. If we have more summers like this, which we probably will.
We probably will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going to belabor it because we've talked them to death, but the writers were Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg, the showrunners, and the director was Michael Satrazemis, and this was pointed out to us by Thomas O'Mara last week. So
Corrections Corner.
Right. It has been erroneously reported that Sarah Wayne Callies was going to be the director of this episode, but apparently she was just shadowing Michael Satrazemis so she could look at doing a future episode.
Our bad.
Yeah. Well, us and everyone else who got sucked in by the reporting. So, Michael Satrazemis, not Sarah Wayne Callies, although she was apparently on set.
I also have a Corrections Corner.
Okay.
Apparently, the time between the mid-season finale and the 5B premiere is going to be 4 weeks and not 2. But that's still a really abbreviated amount of time.
You know, I actually have the dates written down, and it's going to be... The finale is on July 21st, and the second half of Fear starts on August 11th. So we're looking more at 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Between 2 and 4 weeks.
Right. There you go. We'll split the difference.
A really abbreviated amount of time, though. That's so crazy.
A very short hiatus. Just in time for Preacher to come back.
Right.
For its last season. Ah, here's hoping they get a good send out.
Yeah. At least they do get a send out.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
lot of things just get cut after their season finale, and they don't come back to wrap things up.
That's
So,
right. All right, so talk to me about our featured cast because I didn't find a whole heck of a lot.
our featured cast is Sydney Lemon, and she, of course, played Isabel. Uh, I didn't find a whole lot on her either. Um, so I'm kicking myself because last week I was going to watch Velvet Buzzsaw, and
Oh, how funny!
I wound up rewatching 2 episodes of Black Mirror instead.
So
And
I looked at the thing for Velvet Buzzsaw today, and I thought that sounded like a movie you would like.
we've talked about it on the show before, and it was something I was going to look, and I was perusing Netflix the other night, and I like hovered over it, and I was like, no, I really want to rewatch these 2 episodes of Black Mirror. So, now I'm going to have to go watch Velvet Buzzsaw this weekend after I binge Stranger Things.
Okay, so the description of Velvet Buzzsaw is a supernatural force sets out to exact revenge against art profiteers attempting to exploit a series of paintings by an unknown artist.
And Sydney plays unnamed John Dondo's assistant.
Dodson, I think.
Donson. Don. Don. Don Don.
What?
John Don Don's assistant.
Oh, okay, Don. Okay, we're both wrong. Anyway, yeah, she was kind of far down the cast list, which is too bad because I actually really enjoyed her in this episode.
Yes. So she's been in a couple of shorts, a TV movie. She's had a couple of one-offs in some series, and she was even in the series premiere of a television show that didn't get picked up, so it was a one and done in 2015. But she was in an episode of Law and Order.
SVU.
We've not had someone in an episode lately, so it's funny that we finally come back to that. So she's also coming up in a short called Zoo. And I love the synopsis for that. It was, are we watching them or are they watching us?
Oh, how funny.
Also a short called Responds to Winston. A short called How to Transfer Your Old Pets to DVD Before They Die.
I thought that sounded funny.
Did you read the synopsis for it?
I did, yeah.
It kind of sounds like My Drunk Kitchen with dead pets.
So it's a woman struggles to complete an instructional video on digital pet preservation.
Yeah, it really, really sounds like My Drunk Kitchen with pets.
Yeah, I've never watched My Drunk Kitchen, so...
I love My Drunk Kitchen.
Because you don't watch reality TV.
It's a YouTube show. And then Hannah Hart also got her own show on the cooking channel. So, bleh. So, looks like she's coming up in a thriller, an actual movie, an hour and 40 minutes, a thriller called Plain Fiction. Young novelist Simone Knight is living in an author's dream until his controversial fiction starts to bleed into his reality.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's totally right up my alley. So
sounds Stephen King-ish.
It does. It does. She's kind of far down on the list, but she does have a name. Her name is San in it. And I found this super interesting. So, if you are thinking that she looks at all familiar and you cannot place her from anything we have just mentioned.
I think I know where you're going.
Dilly Dilly!
No, I
She
don't know
is-
where you're going.
She plays the queen in the Bud Light commercials where they constantly say dilly dilly.
Oh, I haven't seen those.
Okay, so there's Super Bowl commercials, there's regular commercials. You can actually watch a full compilation that's almost the length of a small movie on YouTube. But yes, she plays the queen. So if you think that she looks at all familiar, that may be where you recognize her from.
So see, the place that I was totally going was she's the granddaughter of famed actor Jack Lemmon.
Ah, I was wondering about that because she comes from a big family of actors and actresses.
Yes, her father's an actor, her brothers are actors.
And her mother was an actress. So I've heard of a lot of things that her father, Chris Lemmon, was in. He was, the biggest one is Wishmaster, which of course is a horror movie.
I was going to say, haven't seen it.
And then if you're looking for her mom on IMDb, she is under her maiden name. She's Gina Raymond, not Gina Lemon. But it appears that she stopped acting when she got pregnant with Sydney. So I don't know what she's been doing since then, but like Diane said, her two brothers are also actors, Jonathan and Christopher Jr. So yeah, it's in the blood.
Mm-hmm.
She studied at Yale, and it doesn't say what she got her degree in, but I have a feeling that it's something with the dramatic arts because that's where she got her start on the stage. She was in a bunch of plays that there's a couple of them I can't say on the podcast because they have naughty words. But she is currently an understudy on Broadway in a play called The Parisian Woman. And yeah, so she's got a lot of acclaim for that. And you can kind of link to that from her Twitter page. She's at Sydney Lemon on Twitter. That's her only social media that I could find. And she only has 32 tweets, so it will not take you long to get through her Twitter.
Wow.
But go and give her a like. I have actually kind of had her Twitter up for the past hour, and she's got 80 followers in the last hour. She's gone from 480 something to 562, so she is on the rise.
It's got to be people who are watching Fear.
Oh, definitely. But she is a lefty politically. If that is not your thing, then you might not want to follow her.
So, I feel like we're just not going to see her again, and that bums me out.
And me too. Like I said, I would be totally okay if she became a series regular. Yeah.
I think the best shot we've got is seeing her in a Rick movie again.
That's what I'm thinking. 'Cause my kind of running theory is that CRM that's working for the future is like the Commonwealth Resource Management Team.
Oh, very good.
Maybe, I don't know. So hopefully we see her in a Rick movie. She flies a helicopter, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean, this is straying a little bit into rotting potpourri territory, but I looked back at the comic book issues that had some good illustrations of soldiers from the Commonwealth, and while the uniforms aren't dead ringers, the uniforms are certainly compelling.
Mm-hmm. There is much debate online.
Mm-hmm.
What else could CRM stand for?
No, I like that. Commonwealth Resource Management. That's good. And it makes sense because what was their mission this time? They were looking for stuff to do water purification.
Right.
So it works.
Right. And they were sending out a reclamation team.
I think the reclamation team was to actually scrub her and her partner if they strayed too much from mission security.
Oh, that's true because they were late in coming back, and
yes.
that's a really bad sign if you're trying to keep track of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got the sense that the reclamation team was a bad thing.
Yeah.
You don't want them coming out if you're late.
Nope.
Well, anything else on Sydney Lemon?
Nope, that was it. She's only been acting on the screen for about 5 years, so 28-year-old actress on the rise. Keep an eye out.
She is certainly a very striking woman as well. So,
Definitely.
well, I guess the big news in Whisperer's Corner is this week's issue of The Walking Dead, which came out on July 3rd, is the last ever.
Wow. Episode or issue 193.
Yeah.
What an odd number to land on.
Well, so Robert Kirkman was talking a lot about how he wanted to surprise people,
And I love that.
and certainly going for something that was not a round number and not one of those Hallmark numbers like 200 or 300, you
Right.
know.
And he can always bring it back. Right? I mean,
So there was a lot. I don't want to spoil what happened in the last issue. It was a
Right.
triple-sized issue for the regular price, which
you
was
can
pretty cool.
absolutely find spoilers online if you are interested, but we are not going to spoil it here for you.
I will also say that Phil and Lilith recorded a Capes and Lunatics episode about issue 193, so if you want to listen to that, it's spoiler-filled, but it's really good.
Awesome.
But Walking Dead had a 15-year run, and Kirkman said, I did every issue the way I wanted to do it, which is a rarity in the comic book industry.
God, that is so awesome. I can't find the article, but there was an article where he said that he wanted to surprise everyone and that he can't stand knowing when something is going to end, when you can, just count the commercials and know how much time you have left. So I love it. I love it.
There was an article that I looked at today that talked about how there were a lot of people who were really butthurt because the series is over. And I thought, he's given us a lot of his life, and he's given us some great ups and downs. So rather than be lousy about the fact that this comic book has had a great run and it's over, we should be grateful for what we've gotten.
Well, and like I said, this is a really fortuitous title for this episode because the end of everything ends. And, I would rather end on a high note and go out without having to have beat it to death or jumped the shark or whatever other euphemism you want to talk about. So I'm glad he did what he did. And you're right, 15 years is a long time to commit to something like that. Mm-hmm. So, we said it when Rick left the series that he had dedicated 10 years of his life to filming this show.
And he's going to give us more time in 3 movies.
Yep. And directing.
Yeah, so I think we need to give Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adlard props and thank them for their time and support them in their future endeavors.
Look how many people they have brought together into the Walking Dead family. In spite of politics or opinions or race or class or socioeconomical places in society, most everyone loves The Walking Dead, except the guy from Forbes.
There's still a lot of story to come, too. I mean, just because the comic book series is over doesn't mean, as AMC rushed to point out, that the television series are over. So
right. Because they have diverged so significantly that we can go anywhere from here.
Well, and as we've said often, there's no source material for Fear. I'm assuming there's no source material for the new series that's coming out. So there is a lot to be explored.
Yeah.
Okay, so Eric, not a Nurse Kane from Forbes, actually calls this the best episode since Laura in season 4.
Which is that probably added to my no, I didn't like it.
Oh, that's really funny. So I actually thought this was the best episode of this season so far. But, you
And
know,
I see what other people see in it. Like, I'm not gonna knock the episode at all. It just, I don't know. It lost something on the rewatch for me.
well, I rated it higher than you, and I'm going to knock it a little bit. So, so I think the thing that you were talking about in Eric Kane's Forbes review was he asks why The Walking Dead shies away from sex when this is most likely the last chance that people are going to get to have sex before they get eaten by a zombie.
So he spends about half of the article talking about it, and
About this particular episode.
yes, maybe it's the uber feminist in me, but I think that he just like harped on the whole he wanted to see a lesbian sex scene a little too much. Like not just a sex scene, but this sex scene.
I got the feeling from him that he was really saying, okay, let's be realistic. If it's the end of the world, people are going to be getting it on. You don't agree?
I don't agree. No. I think that there is certainly more to Al than that. And I'm thinking that there may be more to Isabel than that. Although I do have to say, Isabel is not basically living for anything but the future of our species. So I may very well could be wrong about her, but I kind of think Al would have liked to have known her name at least, because at that point she didn't.
Well, one could argue that if she was living solely for the future of our species, that she's not exactly going about contributing to propagating the species. Well, so the other thing that Eric, not a nurse Kane, says in his Forbes review is he continues to say that Morgan is one of the worst things that's happened to Fear the Walking Dead.
I disagree, but I'm glad that we haven't had a Morgan pep talk in a few episodes.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I love Lenny James and I love the character of Morgan, but they have got to give him something else to do.
Yep, agreed.
All right, so leaving Forbes behind, apparently there was an online campaign by Whiskey Cavalier fans to fight to keep the series alive. And this week, the executive producer of the show, Bill Lawrence, confirmed that it's over, the fight is done, and that people should let it go.
Yeah. I guess it had its fans, but I didn't think it was worth trying to watch an episode past episode 2. So, but whatever floats your boat.
I thought it was interesting that there was such a hardcore fan base that people were trying to keep it going. But, you know, in this day and age of Netflix diving in and rescuing series.
Well, and online petitions. I feel like you can get 100,000 signatures for anything.
Well, and you can literally start an online petition for anything.
Yep.
There is, by the way, an online petition to save the University of Alaska because our governor has decided to slash our state budget by 40%. So if anybody's interested in the welfare of Alaska, I would encourage signing that petition. Because we're not going to have a university system left. So
no. Yeah. Ugh.
All right, back to Whisperer's Corner. So Uprocks published an article speculating that A's, and this is very much along the lines with what you were saying last week, A's are high-class jobs and B's are low-class jobs, which is much more in keeping with the way that things are structured in the Commonwealth.
Right. I don't know. I can't imagine what else it would be, but I guess I just don't have as good imagination as the writers. So
now I can't remember. See. Was Rick an A or a B? He was an A, wasn't he?
I think so, but right at the end, didn't she say he's not an A, he's a B, or like I don't have an A, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I'd have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
Let's see, CBR.com published a thing that I read today, and the climbing scene In this episode, actually, a fair portion of that was real. They actually did film it on a rock face with climbing instructors.
Wow.
They
Although
Oh, go ahead.
I can't imagine how else you would do that. But then again, look at the pit that
That Rick and Daryl were in.
Rick and Daryl were
Right.
in. Yeah.
They did apparently have a mocked up wall to resemble the rock face, and that was how they got the shot of Isabel dangling from her line.
Oof.
But there was real rock climbing involved and practical effects for that part of this episode.
Has that ever been like an interest of yours? I was watching the show and
No, absolutely not. I am so afraid of heights. My 16-hand horse is enough for me. Thank you very much.
I'm not afraid of heights, but I'm also like, that wouldn't be an enjoyable weekend thing for me. Like, no thanks.
I do know people who do it, and along the Seward Highway, which is a very scenic highway to travel in Alaska, there are some rock cliffs that face out on Turnagain Arm. It's very beautiful, very stark, and a lot of people rock climb there.
So, yeah, I don't think I could do rock climbing. I like to be able to walk up the mountain, which you can do on a couple of them here. And then you used to be able to rappel down the Salmon Creek Dam. But after 9/11, they really don't want anyone doing that. So.
Oh, which makes sense.
Right.
Mission security and all that.
Don't mess with the water source.
Yeah. Well, that's about all I have for Whisperer's Corner.
You always have the best stuff. I had not heard the Whiskey Cavalier thing.
I just read the news. All right, so onward to the goods, bads, and uglies.
So my good had to do with Isabel. I love that she is living for the future. That everything that they're doing is for, she didn't say this, but I'm assuming the survival of the species and repopulating the earth and gaining resources. And I just love that because it's so opposite of what our group does. Our group is not trying to survive themselves. They're trying to help people. And the CRM group is just the opposite. They're like, we don't want to help anybody but the future. So I kind of feel like that's where I would be is I don't have children. I'm not interested in having children, but I do care about, where our species winds up and what happens to our future. So I feel like that I would probably be a good CRM soldier.
I would worry about the potential for a group like CRM to become one of those groups where women are just vessels for repopulating the species, though.
Yeah, that would kind of scare me, especially because we're in season 3 of Handmaid's Tale and it's just too real. So I could see that, but I don't know. I think my eggs are past their pull date, maybe. So I'd be a little safe.
Yeah, you're pushing the big 4-0 this year, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
Yep.
Your eggs are past their shelf date.
Yeah, expired.
Yep.
So I can't fly a helicopter or anything, but I think that I would be a good CRM employee because I care about our future, and it drives me nuts that our main group, they do, but they go about it all wrong.
I think they're really stumbling, and it shows.
Yes. So that was my good.
Well, my good was that overall, I felt like the storyline with Al and Isabel was a winning storyline, and we haven't had one of those in a while. I was actually looking forward to the rewatch this time, which I have not really looked forward to rewatching much of this season. So I just felt like overall it was a winning storyline, and I'm sorry that we're probably not going to see Isabel again. Although maybe that's part of the thing that makes it a winning storyline too, is it's a one and done,
Yeah, that's true. I I was thinking just the opposite just now, is maybe that's why I have some hurt feelings, is I know that I'm not going to see Isabel again, or we probably won't see Isabel again. And, that kind of brings it down a notch for me.
Interesting.
So my bad, and I've said it before, it's been my bad before. I hate that Al is so, I need to get the story. I'm going to die to get the story. I'm going to put other people in danger to get the story. It's all about the story and her tapes and the story.
But she really demonstrated it with the whole thing with her brother.
Yeah, I get it. But, there comes a time when you've got to get over getting the story, or you've got enough of the story, and you have to start building towards the future. So there was a big juxtaposition between Al and Isabel, in that, Al is living for the stories of the past, and Isabel is nothing but the future. So, and that was, my good was Isabel and my bad was Al. So it kind of balances out. But yeah, it's been my bad before. It is my bad again this time. I cannot stand that she would put people's lives and her own life in danger for her stupid camera.
So do you think that her interaction with Isabel and her apparent change in her relationship with our survivors, telling them her name, telling them a little bit more about herself, do you think that her interaction has changed that?
I think their interaction changed them both, because I think Isabel sees that there's more than just that, the future, and Al lied to our group, mm-hmm. So I think it had a big effect on both of them. And that's why I kind of hope we see more of Isabel, because I think they kind of had a good influence on each other.
I could see Al influencing Isabel. Sorry, that's water because it's so hot. I could see Al influencing Isabel to leave CRM and come to our group.
Is there any leaving CRM, though?
Well, not unless you're really crafty.
Right?
And not unless you have a partner who's going to let you go.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
but I also hope she doesn't leave CRM, because I hope to see her in the Rick movies.
Well, so would you rather have her back on this series, or would you rather see her in the Rick movies?
Yes.
Either or, both ways.
either or, I'm good with. I just want to see more of her. I think her character is interesting.
Yeah, I think she was a welcome change.
Yeah.
But let me get into my bad, which is there were still some clunky parts to this episode. So I really thought the rock slide was super lazy writing.
Which one?
Like all of them. I mean, really? I don't know. It just seemed so convenient.
Yeah.
And then I know, I listened to Aim for the Head, and Diana and Steve really, really liked, especially the rock climbing scenes. I was kind of like, the trek to get the avgas really seemed like a lot to go through, and it seemed like a big stretch to expect a survivor that you had just picked up out of nowhere to be able to do all of that stuff with you.
Right. It was the perfect person to have with you, because Al is, kind of the wartime reporter. So she can fly a plane and a helicopter, and she can rock climb, and she can do all this other stuff. And could you imagine if it were like Charlie or June or somebody like that?
Good Lord, if it had been me. I would have been like, no, I'll meet you at the bottom. Just bring the gas back with you.
Right?
Not that I would have made it this far in the ZA anyway.
Lower it down to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about clunky. The whole, the zombie hanging there for who knows how long, I would expect your spike to have come out or your rope to have broken with being weathered with that zombie swinging around that whole time. And
Although
then,
I did like the zombie kill that went along with that.
yeah, I kind of did too, except that I kind of didn't Al have spikes of her own? Why didn't she was like reaching for his tool. Like, why didn't she just use one of her spikes?
Ah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I was a little annoyed at that. It took me out of the moment. But then you get to the top, and then there's the climbing partner at the top, and I'm just like, what were they doing out there? And were they going for the supplies? Because the supplies had to be there first.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was just weird. It was, again, it's the we have to have a special kill every episode, so this was it.
So one more thing that I thought was clunky. I'm not sure that I felt like the time that we spent in this episode really matched all of the time that Al was missing and that our group was looking for Al.
Right, because
I felt like it was resolved so quickly.
The end of this episode was in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I just didn't feel like there was a good match between all of the time that's elapsed and the time that elapsed in this episode.
Yeah, what was it, 2 nights?
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was one night after the rock slides, and there was one night up on top of the climbing where the gas was.
Yeah.
It just seemed like she was missing longer than that in terms of how long our group was looking.
I hadn't thought of that, but agreed.
Yeah, so that was my bad. Just some clunky bits.
So my ugly is a good ugly.
Aha, okay.
I know. Like, how could I have rated this a 3.95 when I have so much good to say about it? I like that we got some backstory on Al. I thought the tape was interesting. I loved the tidbit about the National Guard and the Army shooting at each other,
Mm-hmm.
and her apology to her brother, and it's one of those things where I'm either or. I would love to find out that like Jesse's been looking for her this whole time, and then there's also the part of me that's kind of like, where's Heath? Sometimes people just go away in the zombie apocalypse and you never see them again. And so I'm just, Al's backstory was interesting, and she has a crazy last name.
Yes, she does.
No wonder why she doesn't tell it to people, because none of us are going to remember it anyway.
I didn't even try to write it down.
Well, and it's funny because it is in the trivia bit for the show on IMDb.
Ah.
But if you look at a couple of articles with some recaps, it is a completely different hyphenated name. It's a completely different spelling. It may be a different sound. I don't know. I'm not going to try and pronounce either one of them. So
I am sure that the spelling got very creative.
Maybe I'll go back and rewatch and turn on closed captions, see what they have to say.
Well, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so that was my ugly. Is I enjoyed getting some of Al's backstory.
Well, I also had a good ugly. So mine was that I really enjoyed the chemistry between the characters, Al and Isabel, and I thought the actresses captured it very well.
Yes.
I loved the tension in the scene where Isabel threatened to break Al's leg unless she gave her the tape. I thought there was very good tension in that scene. I really enjoyed it. I loved the shared beer and Al's line where she said, "Everything's so ugly nowadays. This is nice."
Yeah.
And I did love the kiss. I thought it was a great kiss.
Yeah, I agree. The kiss was good.
So that's my ugly. It's kind of a small ugly, but I just thought overall the chemistry was really good and they carried the episode well.
I agree. There's been some really good odd pairings this season. Salazar and Charlie, I think, has been one of my favorites, but this is right up there.
So are you going to rate the episode any higher?
I really should. Like, peer pressure. So many people loved it, except for the guy from Forbes.
Right. And he liked it.
And he liked it.
So, getting into rotting potpourri, the first thing I want to say is that Isabel did have some really cool flashbang stuff.
Yeah, the little, I think they're like Mercury fire starters or something. Yeah. Yeah, those are pretty cool. Yeah. I don't think there's very many more of those in the zombie apocalypse. And I loved her bayonet.
That was a great weapon.
Oh, I think that would be a weapon of choice. Maybe not the weapon of choice, but definitely right up there. The Morgan stick is really good because you got a little bit of a length, but you can shorten it up. But yeah, that bayonet was awesome.
Well, and the weapon being essentially planned for the zombie apocalypse argues again for the Commonwealth.
Right.
Did you notice that the opening credits had the helicopter?
I didn't. You know what? I totally can't even remember the opening credits at all.
It was the helicopter flying off.
Ah.
Yep.
Al is a regular Houdini.
Right. She's very good at escaping things.
Yes. I mean, how many times has she had her hands tied in like 2 seasons and gotten out?
Well, didn't she say she's really good at zip ties? I mean, I know that this wasn't zip ties, but...
Yeah. Do you know how many times I've escaped zip ties? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just love that too. And next time, try handcuffs.
So there's a line where she says to Isabel, "You want to get transactional?" And I really liked that line. I just thought it was a well-written line.
Yeah, because it kind of really fits the way that Al operates.
Mm-hmm. And the way that Isabel was operating, too.
Right. I think they are very, very similar. Isabel pointed out that they were really similar in their drive for what they're doing. They're just kind of opposite sides of the same coin. But yeah, I liked the transactional line too, because that's the way Al's always been. I mean, she'd give you the shrimp cup of noodles if you told her your story.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which I do like. I know I've been referring to her as Isabel all along, but I like that they withheld her name until the very end. I kept watching it thinking, do we know a name yet? Do we have a name yet? And then right toward the end, we finally got her name.
See, and I'm terrible because I didn't realize we didn't have her name until she said it at the end. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, I would have just been calling her the CRM chick.
Happy.
Happy. That's funny.
So I did feel a little dumb about kind of not understanding until my rewatch why she killed her partner. Like, I didn't follow that storyline very well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I will say another thing that has been really challenging, and I know a lot of people have been griping about it this season, but it's so freaking dark.
Dark! Yes!
I mean, we have a 65-inch TV. We have a sound bar. We have good conditions for viewing and listening, and it's so hard to see and hear some of what's going on still.
And I have watched it via 2 screens. I watched it on my TV the first time, and I watched it on my Surface Book the second time. So it is not just you. It is not just the one screen. And I remember we griped about this for a season for the Walking Dead Prime, and then there's been the last season of Game of Thrones. I kind of think that, I don't know who it is, the cinematographer maybe, who is seeing it on their equipment and it's just not translating to the small screen. Yeah. Big letters across the top of my notes, it says too dark.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. It's hard to figure out what's going on in some of the
Yep.
scenes.
Yep. And if you're trying to add that to the atmosphere, that tension of you can't see what's going on, that plays for about a third of an episode, and then we're sick of it.
It becomes frustration, not tension.
Right. Right.
Speaking of tension, did you think that Al got bit? Like she
No.
was really? So they made a big deal out of her taking the jacket, and Isabel made a big deal out of her having protection from the walkers, but I thought the bite was really good.
I didn't.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. I was like, of course, the one time she gets bitten for that stupid camera, she's wearing the Kevlar.
That's a super cool outfit, by the way.
It is.
I really like the way that they've engineered the uniforms for this group.
Yeah. It's unique, and it also seems to be very, very functional without being too bulky or flashy or anything like that. I kind of had the thought when Isabel was walking down the road and she had just killed the 2 or 3 zombies, and she had I want to say 5-gallon, maybe 10-gallon gas cans, and she was carrying them both with all of her pack and equipment and everything. And I'm like, oh, that would be so hot in that black Kevlar. But it seems like it functions really well.
So, the uniform actually made me think of medieval gambesons. So a gambeson is the padding that goes underneath armor, but it's also protective because of the way that it's quilted.
Right.
And that's what the uniforms made me think of.
Oh, that's a very good point. Dilly.
Now I'm going to have to watch one of those stupid commercials on YouTube.
Oh, God. I will send you the 7-minute compilation that tells the story.
But that would be 7 minutes of my life that I can't get back.
But it's a funny 7 minutes. They are really clever ads. There's a reason why it's a running thing, is because they're really clever and really funny, so...
Of course, I am watching Midnight at Chernobyl, I'm reading Midnight at Chernobyl, and that's hours of my life I won't get back. So 7 minutes I can probably sacrifice.
Spoiler alert, the reactor melts down.
But spoiler alert, the Russians totally lied.
Shocking!
The thing now I'm going to totally diverge, and for people who haven't watched Chernobyl, you should. But I didn't realize that they really were in complete denial about the severity of the accident. They didn't actually finally admit and start evacuating the city near Chernobyl until 36 hours after the accident.
Mm-hmm. And by then it was way too late for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You've watched the end, right? You've seen the whole thing.
Yeah. I've seen it. Now I'm just reading the book to get more of a journalistic take on it.
Yeah, it makes sense that it's by a lot of people, it's credited to be one of the major factors in the fall of the Soviet Union, is because basically they were like, we shouldn't be this secretive, even though they still kind of are.
I think that we had the fall of the Soviet Union, and then I think that now we've got all of these individual states trying to grapple for power, and that's why we're seeing that return to secrecy.
Yeah. Well, and then look at Fukushima, where they were in total denial for about a day and a half. They evacuated everyone immediately, but they were just like, no, it's not a level whatever it was. It's not that bad. We're just taking precautions, but they knew it was that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is your preview for the episode of Fear the Walking Dead that's coming up, because we're going to be dealing with nuclear issues again.
Right. And that is one of the reasons why Beckett wanted to leave, is because he had seen what had happened to the people working in and near the reactor, and it freaked him out, and he just was ready to go. And it's kind of like the mafia. You don't leave CRM. CRM leaves you.
You know, you've got to be a pretty committed person to kill your partner.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, I mean, the whole story about Beckett's cabin or house or whatever
His
that you can,
cabin. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that you can see from here to the end of everything, the end of creation. To have known somebody that well that you know, have traded stories like that, that, you know, you can just haul off and kill him. And I don't know, maybe I wouldn't be a good CRM employee. Maybe I would be the one that would be like, yeah, I totally killed him. And I really didn't. And I let him go. But I took the maps. He doesn't get the maps.
Can you hear that airplane in the background?
I did.
Fire drops for the wildfire that's 30 miles north of us. Yeah. Alaska is melting, people.
Yep. It totally is. Actually, we are under a drought. I'm not allowed to wash my car or water my lawn.
Yup.
And there's no rain in the forecast. So, it's kind of like a nuclear reactor melted down in Alaska.
It feels that way tonight.
Well, and if I go outside for more than about 10 minutes, I look like I've been next to a nuclear reactor.
I'm thinking about the descriptions of the Chernobyl victims. I get it. I shouldn't laugh. I'm morbidly sick.
I carry sunblock in my purse. That's how easily I burn.
Right. All right. What else do I have? I wrote down that Isabel was from Indiana, and one of the articles that I read points out that Indiana and Ohio share a border, and Ohio is where the Commonwealth is in the comic books.
See? Everything's pointing to the Commonwealth.
And you know, I mean, it makes sense.
It does.
That's kind of all I've got, though. I didn't really have a lot of writing potpourri written down.
So I was really interested in Isabel's last warning to Al.
Don't chase the story.
Don't chase the story. And basically, if you see someone in one of these uniforms, run the other way. Mm-hmm. And I keep thinking, if you are in it for the survival of the species and the future of all mankind and all of that good stuff, wouldn't you want to bring in as many viable survivors as possible and not kill everyone on sight?
Now I'm going to have to go back and read some of the comic book arc about the Commonwealth and see kind of how they handled.
Yeah, yeah, don't chase the story, I get, but like her whole, like, it makes it seem that like CRM is like this really shady, shadowy organization that is up to no good, when she describes them as being all for the future. And I don't know, it's a weird mix of like looming nefarious agencies and hopeful building of a future. Those two things just don't seem to go together, or they shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna have to look back at Commonwealth stuff and see how much they deal with new people and kind of what they do with new people.
Well, and it's even just, I mean, there was a line where Isabel says, it's bigger than me. Right now, it's the only thing that matters. You don't want to go there. If someone finds the tape, if they figure out how to read the map, it makes what we're working towards vulnerable. You don't want to go there. Wouldn't like, if you met a hot chick in the zombie apocalypse and, you know, she was probably one of the last hot chicks alive, wouldn't you be like, no, come with me. You're an A. Trust me, you're an A.
I kind of took the phrase "you don't want to go there" as like more
okay.
the, you know, you don't want to wrap your head around that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not like you physically don't want to go there.
yeah, I don't know. I keep thinking, why aren't they bringing in survivors? Why are they shooting people on sight? And, maybe they're just shooting people on site who are near the fallout of the reactor because they are afraid they're contaminated. But I don't know. It seems like they're up to no good.
Well, they're pretty militaristic, and they're pretty much divided into an upper class and an underclass if we are talking about the Commonwealth. So
Right. The Commonwealth wasn't all good.
Mhm.
So that's why I kind of think that, this is the Commonwealth.
And again, it's convenient. I feel like they're kind of setting us up to believe that. So
Yeah, I do too. And setting us up for the movies.
mhm.
So the last thing that I had, and it was a small thing, but it was very important in the zombie apocalypse, a hanging tent.
Oh,
Why didn't I think of that?
Diana and Steve talked about that quite a bit too, and I was embarrassed again because I didn't pick up on it because it was so dark.
I mean, I realize that there's not always going to be a convenient place to hang your tent from, but wow, I think we all need to go out and buy hanging tents for our bug out bags. That was just, that just adds to why they have these random climbers in the episode, is because climbers would have a hanging tent.
Well, and yeah, I'm definitely thinking that's not the average Sears ripstop nylon tent for $100.
No. That was a very, very serious piece of equipment. So, I mean, have you ever seen those where people like take these crazy vacations where they like go to these super high cliff face mountains and like just spend the week in like hammocks and hanging tents and ropes, and that just doesn't sound like a good time. But a hanging tent, that, like, I could get a good night's sleep in that in the zombie apocalypse. I would not be afraid of at least zombies getting me. I mean, I guess a human could come by and get me, but yeah, that was just genius. I loved it. I really hope that one of them packed that off. They didn't, though, obviously.
I'm just thinking, one of the notes that I did write down was that Isabel's gear was really cool and very well organized. So if anybody had a use for a hanging tent and the desire to pack one off, I would expect her to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they are gathering resources.
Because they are the Commonwealth Resource Management Group.
Oh. So that is all I had.
Well, I have to go out and ice a bowed ligament on a 1,500-pound horse.
Have fun with that.
Yeah.
It's still got to be like 85 degrees there, doesn't it?
Easily.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having a torn ligament that needs to be iced 4 times a day at minimum and standing out in this heat all day?
She tore her ligament just so she could get the ice 4 times a day.
Right. I told the 2 geldings who were looking at her and looking at me while I was putting ice on her today, and I said, don't get any ideas.
Well, I'm glad that Moon is okay.
Yeah, I think she's going to be all right. It's going to be a long recovery, but I think she's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So
apologies that this week's episode was so late. Sometimes life really just does get in the way in more than one way. So we will talk to you soon.
Yeah.
But until then, just remember, take it one dead day at a time. All right, everybody. Everybody.
Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.